talk about problems. We want to talk about solutions. Diversified markets and products, right? So alternative processing methods, small and medium processors. Now, we're never going to replace those big four, but we can kind of mitigate risk over a larger percentage by claiming a larger percentage of the market share. Local and regional agribusinesses to help minimize exposure and vulnerability. And so we're still going to have the big four. They're not going anywhere, right? But what about some of these small labels, right? What about some of these small packers? What about turning your cattle, retaining ownership a little bit longer instead of taking them to the stockyard, finding a small processor so you can get a bigger chunk of that $5,000 instead of giving it all to Walmart, right? And thinking about that. Also, other species, right? So on my other slide, I had beef, pork, and chicken. Here I got rabbits, right? We're working on a rabbit farm on campus now because rabbits are very sustainable, high protein, also can use their fertilizer and their pelts and everything else. And goats and sheep, small ruminants, right? And working on keeping or getting more local supply of this. About 80% of all of our sheep and goat meat come from Australia and New Zealand, right? They get shipped over here on a boat, right? Whereas we have the potential to grow a lot of these species and process a lot of these species right here, especially here in the Southeast, right? And so what does that do? Helps to relieve this bottleneck a little bit. We don't have such consolidation. We don't have such exposure and vulnerability, and it expands the pie. It doesn't take away from Cargill because, again, they're going to still process their 38,000 a day. Their system is very well fine-tuned, but again, there's opportunity for these small label deals here. And actually, this is my daughter's label here, so a shameless plug, but that's her label. She sells goat meat for a living. So 10 years old, she's got a goat company. All right. So interested in our program, we're interested in meat processing from farm to fork. So that starts with what we call prenatal programming. So I'm a muscle biologist by training, and I actually tell people, I said that steak that you're eating, the development of that steak started before that cow was ever born, right? Or that goat was ever born. Production efficiency, so making sure that you can make these meat products in an efficient way, processing and packaging, consumer eating experience, as well as health. Right? We also want to make sure that we're taking care of the health of the consumers. And so our mission in our Meat Summit Science and Muscle Biology is to provide world-class teaching, research, and outreach in the fields of meat science and muscle biology by connecting aspects of nutrition, genetics, health, husbandry, all those things with post-harvest processing, safety, chemistry, and cookery. All right? And so it synergizes with the TU mission of extension, research, and teaching. Because we do, again, farm to fork research. We're working on being able to provide custom processing, custom label processing. So you'll be able to drop your cow off. We harvest it, process it for you. You put your label on it, sell it at the farmer's market, sell it to Kroger, whoever you want to sell it to, right? Meat chemistry and cuisine. This is one of our programs where we teach about the ABCs, the anatomy, biology, and chemistry of meat production. And then obviously our extension and outreach program. So we again talked about our meat mobile. This is our mobile meat processing unit that we now have on campus, and show some pictures. We killed about 60 goats the other week. It took us all week, but we got it done. Again, we pay homage to the Jessup Wagon, the agricultural school on wheels. And so again, this is from some pictures from PAWC where we harvested some goats. But again, we try to make sure that we are doing maximum value, right? Getting maximum value out of this. So in addition to the goat carcass itself, we had Elder John Drew come out and talk about his leather making business. And so a lot of you should have seen the young ladies that were there, and they didn't realize that those Birkin bags and those Gucci bags that they purchased started out as a goat hide or a cow hide or something else. And they're like, wow, how do I get? So now Elder Drew has a whole bunch of customers that want him to make them a bag out of a goat and things like that. But again, that carcass value, right, has its own value, and then that hide itself has another value, right? And so you can get $100, $125 off that hide before you even sell a piece of meat, right? So again, thinking about what we call value added and sustainable or circular economies that continue to feed into themselves. We also have our Red Meat Innovation and Outreach Center that Dr. Harris talked about. And so this facility is under construction now. We just did a walkthrough just yesterday Tuesday with the architects to troubleshoot some things and get it back rolling. But we have an estimated completion date of January 2026. And so we will be a USDA federally inspected processing facility capable of sheep, goat, lamb, beef, and rabbit harvest, as well as working on the poultry aspect as well.